Hey everybody. That was the video that I had that I tried to play again. It's on my page. Most of you have seen it already. A little Nightstalker video that I put together. Thanks you, Jinx. In between coaching jobs right now. Oh, Gene's a captain in the fire department. I've worked with Gene for probably almost 18 years before he moved crews. Glad to see him tonight. Uh, I've been showing the floor video to a lot of guys at work, and every single one of them are outraged. And it was a bad day for that fire department, performance wise. That's putting it mildly. But we'll get more with that. Was on a live today chatting with Ruckus and Kid. Check the rhyme, and hopefully he's coming in. And we're talking about floor. More the people talk about floor, the better. And every single guy I show at work that video, we all draw the same conclusions immediately about what happened, the fire development, things like that. And then what I told them after, which to me is I don't know, maybe because I've seen scenes similar to that before, and it's not an excuse. You don't get desensitized to kids, but it's almost, I don't want to say it's an expected way for certain places to act, but sometimes performance isn't great in certain areas, and it wasn't that night for sure. But the more people talk, the better. And what happened after is the horse shit, the absolute bullshit. Fire chief, multiple spots of origin because my son's the chief, and he didn't do anything but stare at the girl's mom, who everyone said that was a lie, and you see that that's true. And I don't know. The cops were made out to be bad guys by the fire department. I definitely think the fire department had beef with each other, and Yoder calls out a second department, which around here a cop wouldn't do, I don't think. I guess maybe. Hey, there's Kid. Check the rhyme. What's up? Maybe that could happen, but that had to piss them off. And I'm doing my best investigating right now because I think there was beefs going back with those departments. So they wanted to make him look as bad as possible. The video shows you what the video shows you. Different people have different interpretations, and I understand that. You're viewing things from a different point of view. When I view police shit, I view it from a point of view, but I'm not a cop. I try to use, logic and reason, and sometimes that's has to go out the wayside. But anyways, tonight we'll get more into that. I'm probably going to do something sooner than later with Ruckus too, and really get into the floor. But keep spreading the word. I got videos up. Everyone else, a lot of people are covering it now. With Delphi, and who knows what's going to happen with that hearing and trial. I always update that. There's better attorneys out there than me. I'm not going to try to dip my toe in those waters. I have too high moral of a compass to try to think like an attorney. I'd rather think like a serial killer. Is that wrong? Maybe. I don't know. But everything's basically pushed back till June, which was expected. I've watched a lot of good creators, a lot of people, there's a lot of theories, and again, when not a lot of stuff's released, and then you have this narrative where if we release this information, all hell's going to break loose in town, and it's not even close to what happened. I mean, we know what was in it now, and I don't know. It doesn't sound good. Hopefully things straighten out there a little bit. Anyways, tonight, Richard Ramirez, the Nightstalker. I was born in 1979, so this May I'll be 43 years old. Everyone knows who I am. I mean, my name's out there. I'm not, one of the people that do this or that, so I'm not worried about anything like that. Everything I say, you could look up. It's not hard to find. So what got me into the Nightstalker? Again, born 1979, so we're talking 85, 84. 86, and even the trial afterwards, because that was quite a bit. There was a lot going on there, obviously. But I remember seeing something on the news about it, and just so scary. And even beforehand, I better post this or I'll get in trouble. My girlfriend Brooke. Hello. Could check the rhyme. Yeah. Keep spreading the word, everybody. And I know people get pissed at each other, and anytime I watch a YouTube show, yeah, lawyers are, I I'm sure there's good lawyers. I don't know. Keep pushing it. You know what I mean? As long as people don't make it about them, anybody on anything like that. The people that I'd like talk to, I think they got good hearts. We disagree on shit, and Ruckus, I'm interested to talk to him from a police point of view. As most of you know, my brother is an attorney general agent for Pennsylvania. Very proud of him. Former cop in our town, was a sergeant, narcotics, did a lot of shit. Really good, decorated police officer. I just called him the other day and I had a question about Delphi. I ask him shit all the time. He probably thinks I'm crazy. But now we're to the point where I ask him a question. He's like, I think I know why you're asking me this. I'll answer your question and we'll see if I'm right. So, but again, we're in Pennsylvania and so much shit is different from state to state. So anyways, speaking of state to state, let's go out to the Golden State and Richard Ramirez, right? Richard Ramirez, born 1960. So he was 20 years older than me, but like, again, seeing things on TV at the time, and there was obviously no internet. I remember HBO was a big deal. We had HBO. My grandpa had HBO because there was fights on it. But I got to watch shit on there too when no one was around. But Ramirez, 1960, he ended up dying in 2013 in jail, lymphoma. You know, cancer does not care if you're the Nightstalker. It says it's your time to go. It's your time to go. A lot of different names, a lot of different things. Richard Ramirez is another guy into the serial killer studying the aspect, the brain. What makes people be able to do this type of shit? Can we prevent it? Can we point it out? And we're not the thought police or anything like that, but there has to be a way where we could say, look, this guy's exhibiting X amount of signs. You talk to McDonald triad, the homicidal triad. Some say it's still in practice. Some say not so much. Back then it was a lot. Ramirez had a couple head injuries. Let's go back to in the womb. His mom worked at a plant, was like a dress staining plant. I don't understand the process of making dresses or wearing dresses or anything like that. But it was so toxic that the other kids had some disabilities and some learning disabilities and things like that. So they were exposed to some chemicals. Now, I don't know if the other children, she was pregnant when she worked there, it was close to the place or what, but Ramirez for sure was in her, and she worked almost until she was giving birth. And back in those days, that wasn't uncommon. If mom worked, and I'm not saying a lot of moms worked in the 60s, but even up till, even recently, it was uncommon for them literally almost to work till they gave birth. I mean, it's good that they don't have to do that now. You need time off. I mean, come on. And give the dad time off too. But, so a lot of that happened. A couple head injuries. One, he was knocked out by a swing. I guess, I don't know exactly how it was. If it was his feet or if it was, coming back. He was knocked out for several hours. And you had that, that front lobe injury where he got hit in the head at. Dad was an alcoholic. The dad worked and was in the house, but he would take out, a lot on Richard and beat Richard. Richard was epileptic. And Richard was from El Paso. This is El Paso, Texas, basically, where this is all happening at. Richard was an epileptic. And I played high school football in Western Pennsylvania, and it's a big goddamn deal. Texas is another thing. It's like, I can't even explain, I don't even know. I just know from what people tell me that have experienced it. It's another thing altogether. So he couldn't play football anymore. So he was automatically deemed as weak. And this is 1970, 72, something like that. Things were different. You're weak. You're a puss. He grew his hair long. There's a couple pictures of him when he's young where he doesn't look like a guy that's going to go out and say hi to people or a popular guy. So, jinx. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool because talk about Ruckus, if I could stop real quick. He told me, he was saying in Florida, I live in Florida, and I'm like, man, that accent ain't Florida. That's Northeast, and he's Boston, retired Boston guy. So, yeah, cool. But yeah, so hopefully we can look at things like that in different cases, and hopefully he can see tonight. I don't know how he feels about profiling. I know some people are on the fence. Some police I talked to are on the fence. Some are all in, some are in the middle. So I'm sold on it as a tool, not as an end-all be-all. But again, this is where I come from with all this, the mental stuff. Ramirez had a horrible diet, ate tons of candy. It's why his teeth look like dice, basically. That was a rip. We used to say your teeth look like dice. He could eat corn on a cob through a picket fence. Whatever other jokes you have about teeth, his were terrible. Later, that helped identify him. With the halitosis from the teeth was actually a thing that linked things together, which is really interesting and disgusting at the same time. So basically, around 13 or 12, Richard starts hanging out with a Miguel Mike Ramirez. Mike Ramirez was a Green Beret, a decorated Green Beret from Vietnam. As we move on in this, you're going to see that Miguel Mike Ramirez was actually a serial killer, a documented, self-documented serial killer by definition. By any definition you want to use. Do you want to use the two separate incidents, time and space? Whatever you want to use, he's a documented serial killer. And I will get to that. Richard's first person to look up to, because dad would come home and beat the shit out of him. And it's over and over again. It's the same case every time. Absent father, abusive father. That's always a thing. And then the mother. In this case, everything with Richard's mother seemed to be okay, other than the pregnancy and the exposure to chemicals. But she wasn't stopping him from doing any of this. And as far as I could tell, there was no abuse from her. And other people have, when you have rage towards women, Richard might have had rage towards everybody, though. So we'll get to that, though. He would sleep in cemeteries to avoid his dad. So he got, it wasn't called goth then. And this was past goth. He got into like the undead and everything like that at a very young age. Similar to, maybe we'll do an episode on this later down the line, similar to a Damien Eccles, who was tried, convicted twice, and then let out of jail on an Alford plea, and they're still fighting. He was very young when he was exposed to occult stuff too. Those are the only two guys I can remember, like at 10, 11, kind of exposed to that, and he kind of exposed himself to it. So anyways, he goes and he spends a lot of time with Mike, skipping school, and all the documentaries. He's smoking weed. No one ever killed anyone because they smoked weed, okay? Never, ever. It's not the gateway drug. Those days are over. Tylenol kills more people. Now, I'm not saying you should be skipping school and smoking weed at 12 years old, okay? At all. Your brain's not developed. You shouldn't be taking any drugs, really. Maybe only medicine that you absolutely have to take for like an infection or something. But I'm not saying that weed's not for kids. I'm not saying that at all. No drugs are, including liquid Percocet, which the CDC is approved for children. Great news, right? But no, you shouldn't be smoking weed. None of that shit should be happening at that age. So Mike comes back from Vietnam. He's damaged. Shell shock, battle fatigue. They call it a lot of different things. Then this guy had PTSD to the nth degree. He did horrible things. He raped women. He disemboweled them. He cut their heads off, and he took pictures of it. He had stacks of Polaroid pictures. So Richard is at this age. He's smoking a ton of weed in a brain that isn't all the way developed yet. He's already had head injuries. He's been exposed to these chemicals, before birth in his mom's womb. And his diet's like, a Mountain Dew washing down nerds, and no fruit or vegetable to be had or in sight, maybe meat once or twice a week. I mean, this guy was living on Funyuns and Sunkist for a long time. And all those things happen. And then he's at that age where you start to, look at the other women or whatever you're into. I don't even give a shit, both. But you start to grow sexually. Usually guys are later, 12, 13. Women might be 10 to 12. It's all different. But they notice, okay. So at the same time, he's noticing sex and sexuality and having feelings like that. He's exposed to these photos, these pictures of these women beheaded. And they're naked. So he's looking at body parts. And he makes that connection of sex and violence. And all these guys have that connection. Any sexually motivated killer has that connection, sex and violence. They make the connection. They're the same thing. They're woven together. You could go on different tangents of that, but once you make that connection, like I don't know. I don't believe, and I don't know anything really about the S&M, about the mental aspect of it. I'm not saying people that go out and kill people, but people like to get tied up and things like that in bed. What's the difference between that and this? I don't know that much. I'm going to have John Douglas, is whoever wants to come on, or Jim Clemente. Come on. I'd love to have you and explain that. Or maybe someone here knows that Cheetos and Red Bull, my girlfriend said, no, not for us. Well, hot Cheetos. My kids on the basketball team would bring food to the game, before the game. Hot Cheetos, oh, hot Cheetos, hot Cheetos. What are you doing eating hot Cheetos? So I started bringing in bread. We had peanut butter sandwiches, which was they loved, on wheat bread, which I can't eat anymore because I have celiac, but I can still eat peanut butter, which I do every day. They love that, but yeah. So this he was eating terrible, sleeping in cemeteries. He exposed to Mike, and I don't. From all accounts, when Mike went away, Mike wasn't this. Mike was a serial killer. Okay, he serial rapist and serial killer. He raped and killed women in Vietnam as a Green Beret. And this wasn't like Mike was with a group of guys like you think that, like Full Metal Jacket or a movie like that, where they go into a town. That wasn't Full Metal Jacket. What was it? Oh, God, I can't remember. Whatever it was, where they went in and, he's making the guy dance. It was a really bad scene. But you're sending 18, 19-year-old kids into this in a war. Human beings aren't meant to be in war. And these kids, so how they act, what can we do? It's not good or it's not okay. But so these things happen to Mike, but he did a lot of this stuff on his own. He learned to sneak around at night, sneak up on women and do a lot of this on his own. So where do you think Richard learned his burglary creeping tactic? It was from Mike. Mike actually showed him. Mike has a big fight with his wife one night. Mike used to keep his gun in the refrigerator, keep it on ice, as he would say. Richard was really impressed by everything about Mike. His stories, smoking weed, we'll get some alcohol, we'll eat, we'll hang out. We don't have to do anything. I have a check, and he should have a check. Dave is in the house. What's up, Dave? And him and his wife get into an argument, and Mike pulls out his gun and shoots his wife in the head. Some people say that Richard was close enough. He was there. Some people say he was close enough to get splattered by the blood. I can't find that out for sure, but he witnessed this act. Later on, talking about this, seeing this, Richard didn't say anything about Mike's wife, about her as a person or anything like that. He said that he watched her head slump and her body slump and blood squirted from her neck. And that was what he was focused on. Normal people would see someone like that and maybe flash in front of them memories or, oh my God, or he just stood there and looked. So at that point, and this is, very 13, 14 years old he is at this point. I don't think he's 12. I think he's 13 or 14. And imagine that happening. And you've already associated sex with violence. You've seen a 12-year-old boy has seen pictures and supposedly masturbated to pictures of beheaded people, women. It sounds crazy to normal people, right? It sounds nuts. How can this even happen? But this is what happens time and time again. Not like this with someone showing them pictures and stuff like that, but this is how these dudes develop. And these women now, there's women too, not a lot, but there's women. They develop this. It always goes back to some kind of abuse as a kid. So he was beat, he stayed in the cemetery, terrible diet, saw a guy's head blown off. So what do we do with him? Okay, his sister Ruth. Let's send him to his sister Ruth, right? Older sister, she can look out for him. She loves him. She has a vested interest in him. She wants to see him do good. Richard, you're from the same people as me. So they go to Ruth, and Ruth lives with a guy named Roberto. And Roberto is like a professional peeping Tom. He has a job, I guess, but he's just what he does. He takes Richard with him. He doesn't hide it from him. I would never be a peeping Tom, or I don't understand that, whatever. But you take a kid with you of that age, it's already seen what he's seen. And again, when I lay this out for you, I'm making no excuses for Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez was one of the most terrible human beings that ever walked the planet, ever. Things that he did, ever. There's no question. But what I study is what makes people get like this. And what I'm trying to, I can't wrap my head around some things either. But these are all the things. Like if you watch the Netflix documentary, it's a great documentary, outstanding. It's called Search for the Nightstalker or something like that. It's fantastic. Watch it. It's really good. So I knew almost everything, but it was cool with Gil Correa and I should have wrote his name down. Salerno, Detective Salerno, who also worked on the Hillside Strangler case, Bianchi and Bono. Anyways, moving forward here. So Roberto teaches him how to be a peeping Tom. Now, don't forget, Mike's already taught him how to sneak around. So this kid's stealthy at 13, 14 years old, becomes a burglar. Okay. Starts doing his burglaries, stealing little things. Now, peeping Tomery, I don't know, peeping Toms and burglary, as we found out later, are signs, early signs of it's like sexual, there's a sexual motive or an angle to that. Now, you're in people's houses, you're invading their privacy. You know, they're not there. Ramirez got really good at this. Ramirez had tools of his trade, like an organized killer would. Remember, I said that because I'm going to come back to that later. So he knew what to do. He would spend more and more time in houses like they do and get braver and braver. And I'm sure at some point, there's no, I don't know, documented cases. I don't think you're gonna hawk women's underwear or women's things that touch women's, you know, vital parts, what you would say. But I'm sure he took some of them. He focused on women's stuff, and he did that a lot later when he stole things from the house. Maybe if a guy had a nice gold watch, he'd take that and sell it right away. But the stuff that he coveted was the women's items. The women's were always the object to this. The men were a kind of a means to an end. Oh, which one, Dave? I know some Bronson movies. I don't know if Gene's still in, or he might know that. He's older than me. Could have been. I'm not sure. Okay. So he has these two mentors in life. Well, three if you count his dad, who just kind of beat him. And later on, in interviews, his dad, he feels horrible, and he kind of blames himself. And I don't know how you could even feel, but the dad has a ton of remorse. A ton of remorse. I think the whole family does. It was like, well, we didn't see this coming. So, you hear that a lot, especially back then. There wasn't the mental aspect that we have now, and people went in for treatment and stuff like that. So, okay, the Nightstalker. Another reason why he was so just terrifying was he would prey on anybody. Nobody was safe. He wasn't going after women with blonde hair. He wasn't going after prostitutes. He wasn't going after young minority boys, like various serial killers that we've seen. It was just like if you had a house, he was going to come in it, or he was going to try to come in it. He would do a little bit of reconnaissance work. I don't know how much. He never would really talk about any of that. But it was interesting that was another thing that played on people's fear. And even when I texted some people in my family tonight about this, my mom said, oh, he was scary. And I remember that. My grandpa was a judge. And he would have some people come in front of him, and always worry, oh, would they ever come back, and this and that. And he's always told me to carry a revolver. And he said, God forbid you ever got to use it, take the shells with you. And he was a wise man, and he was a judge. And he said the revolver, he sounded like the guy from Snatch. He said the revolver will never jam, and it's heavy, and you can hit somebody with it if you run out of bullets. Just hit them with it. That's Grandpa Snitz would say, and he kept one in his glove box of his car. So he wasn't messing around. Maybe there was times he took it on the bench with him. I don't know. We'll see. Well, we won't see. Ever. We won't know. He took that to the grave with him. So anyway, so you have this going on with Ramirez. So Ramirez basically at 18 moves to L.A., and there's a whole myriad of reasons people say he moved to L.A. I can't name one down other than just like, hey, it's something different. I kind of wore my welcome out here in El Paso. Tea in a carton again. There was an incident where he worked at a Holiday. I think it was a Holiday Inn. He had a pass key, tried to rape a woman. The guy was like parking his car or something. I don't know if Ramirez thought he was going to leave and be gone for a while. So the guy comes back, and Ramirez is trying to rape his wife, and he beats the shit out of Ramirez, like to a pulp. Ramirez is charged. These people were out of town vacationing. I don't know if they stopped there to go somewhere else, or if they were vacationing in El Paso or what. They didn't even want to come back for the hearing, so they told the police, you know what, it didn't happen. It almost happened, but it didn't happen. Movie was called 10 to Midnight, loosely based on a story. Yeah. See, Gene would know. Let me right up his alley. Old cop-type movies from the 70s. So, yeah, that's, something else. I'll have to check that out. I never saw that movie before. Interesting. So he's there, and then for like he kind of gets in like the Skid Row crowd and stealing and, just drugs and everything else. And there's not a lot like tracked there. What happened, what he did. We knew he was doing burglaries. He was arrested before the picture that everybody always sees of him with his like hair. He has like a mark between his eye and his shirt's kind of open. That picture was taken before, allegedly before the murder spree started, the spree started. Now, they don't think he killed anyone prior to moving to LA, and I think it was 1984. Was 1984? Whatever, yeah. Something like that. Might even have been earlier than that. 18. So right around there. He'd be around 82. He goes there, and for a year or two, he kind of kicks around. No one's really sure what he's doing. We know there's a little burglaries things. He gets into the raping of young kids. He had a ton of those that they've later found. He would abduct and molest kids. One girl, as you saw in a Netflix documentary, carried her out of her window in her house. And there was people that were like trying to put this together. And Korea was one of the detectives that says, I think the same guy's doing the same thing here. And it was just so bizarre that somebody would do, just molest and then let them go and then later kill. So again, we talked organized before. So what are we moving into here? We're moving into kind of something else, a different territory. So there's a ton of these that happened. Basically, none of these came to trial. They had these murders dead to rights. There was no question. And then Ramirez was doing his antics in court. I mean, I think he knows he's guilty, so he's going to play the Satan angle all the way up. Although another guy listened to Unsolved No More, a former police officer, had a death row inmate on that he was talking to that he'd met in his career, and he knew Ramirez and I guess lived near him or whatever. Well, whenever the death row was, out of California repealed that with I know with Manson they did, then it went back, whatever the hell's going on. But he said he held to that Satanist shit to the end. His wedding ring wasn't gold because Satanists don't wear gold, which I'm not a Satanist. I don't understand that. I mean, I'm not a big jewelry guy, but what do you got against gold, Satan? I don't know, But again, that's not my thing. But he said he held firm to that. So, at some point, was it the cemetery sleeping? Was it that Mike instill something in him? Did he pick something up? Twist between Ramirez and Speck. Very good. Dave, yeah, Bronson was cool. Speck was the guy that was it Chicago? He went in a nurse and just, went wild in that home of nurses. Yeah. A great quote, and I thought of this the other day. If you ever saw The Hateful Eight, Kurt Russell's character says, you only need to hang mean son of a bitches, but mean son of a bitches you need to hang. So basically, there's certain people that, keep them and study them. I don't have a problem with that. You're like, it's going to cost money to, what, if we could figure something out from that, where did all this come? This is where all this came from. These guys went and interviewed these people in jail, these murderers, and acted like they're friends. And, the interrogation, we're going to smack you in the back of the head with a phone book. Well, this guy's going to tell you anything he thinks you want to hear to stop you hitting him in the head with a phone book. But like Jim Clemente says, the big R word, you build rapport. He goes to Gitmo, and they changed everything down there. We're not, the waterboarding it. You don't have to do that, starvation. You build rapport. You give people shit. Is it fair? No. You want to get proper information at all costs? That's what you need to do. Yeah. You are correct. So moving forward, he begins this crime spree kind of begins, right? And I'm going to go through everything real quick, and you'll see the dates, the escalation, when things really start moving, picking up, and they do a good job in the Netflix. There's a lot of other true crime shows, the Film Rise, a lot of British true crime shows that are really cool. The people they interview are British, like scientists and detectives. So I don't think they initially worked on any of the cases, but neither did I. And they probably know a lot more about police shit than I do, but they're interesting. So, and again, listed What we have listed here and how many more there are, I don't think we'll ever know. I don't think we'll ever know. Like a Gary Ridgway situation, I don't think that dude even remembered either. I really don't. I mean, he remembered so many, and certain ones he, buried higher for whatever the hell reason in his head was. But okay. So June 28th, 1984, Glassnell Park, Los Angeles, Jenny Vincow. Nothing then till March 17th, 1985. That was Maria Hernandez, Dale Ozalki. Maria Hernandez got shot. She's the one who put her hands up, blocked it with the keys. And if you remember the Netflix documentary, Detective Carrillo, Gil grew up with her mother. And she came in and called him by like a nickname. And he was kind of, after that, was kind of like, oh shit. But, they're still kind of putting this all together. Okay. So that was the same night. That was in Rosemead. I don't know California that much, but then Monterey Park is whenever Veronica Yu, I'm going to screw her name up, Cylan, they called her Veronica Yu. She was the one who was shot in the car. Police came upon the car, didn't know what was going on there. Pants were ripped. So I don't know if it was some kind of a attack. He seems to be in a frenzy, but the frenzy only lasted the one night that we know of. He could have attacked other people that night and they never put two and two together, although I think later on he would have once they knew what was happening, but who knows? He's making blatant attacks in a car, so he's kind of changing up things. He's in some kind of, whatever. I have a theory that with Dale Okazaki, he tried to rape her and couldn't perform. He did that one or two other times where he went and did something real crazy after, real risky after. He was like almost mad at that person because he couldn't perform. And that's as nuts as this person was. March 27th, 85, you had Vincent and Maxine Zazzara. That was in Whittier. May 14th, 1985, Bill and Lillian Doy. That was in Monterey Park. So, you have like 6 weeks. Now you have 2 weeks. Okay. May 29th, Memorial Day weekend. You had Mabel Bell and Florence Lang. They were the sisters. One was paraplegic. One died there immediately. The next day, May 30th, Carol King and her 11-year-old son. And that one there was one of the ones where Detective Salerno says everything was there. The gun, all that. He the child molest, the child rape, the rape of the woman, the talk, everything, all his stuff was there. The words he used, the terms he liked to use, all that. So then he waits July 2nd, Mary Louise Cannon, July 5th. That was in Arcadia, July 5th, Whitney Bennett, Sierra Madre. July 7th, Joyce Nelson, Monterey Park. July 7th, Sophia Dickman, Monterey Park. So there's a little bit of a frenzy there. I mean, you're looking at, 5 incidences in 3 or 4 days. So is he going on runs? Is he getting money in his pocket and getting, I don't know I think he was doing any drug you'd give him, but was he on some kind of speed? Was he moving forward? Yeah, Gene actually talked about John Douglas to me many years ago. Haven't had the Hazelwood, but I've read everything by Douglas and Ressler so far, but I know Hazelwood, and there's another guy there too. I can't remember what his name was. Another guy that was there at the very beginning, not as known as the other ones. Hey, Boogie Down. Eccles is very interesting. I remember being a young guy, probably a teenager, maybe early 20s. I'm not sure. Probably even earlier than that. Probably, yeah. What happened? In 92, that happened. So I'd have been like 30. Yeah. I'd have been right around their age, Eccles and those guys' age. You see the documentary, then you see all the other stuff after it. So I just don't know where I go. That's a good one. Mindhunter's a good one. John Douglas, the original book, Mindhunter. So Gene's in here. Gene actually worked on Mindhunter. Not maybe how you think he would have, but they filmed in our town, McKeesport. The one scene where they are in I think it's San Jose Police Department. That's our old Daily News building. One of our fire hydrants, I'll take a picture of it one day. It's still painted silver and green because they shot a picture there, and that was the color of their fire department or their fire hydrants, I guess. but Gene actually went up and provided water for them when they were filming. I believe it was the scenes when they were in Atlanta interviewing people when it was raining. He made a connection from our hydrant and pumped water from our truck into their apparatus, whatever they had there. Yeah, I want to go back and look more into the West Memphis case for sure. That's it's just so beyond bizarre, and I don't know. I thought I knew. It's like Delphi. I thought I knew, then I didn't. Then it's this guy. Oh, I know it's this guy. No, it's not. So I'm glad I never said anything publicly to who I thought anyone was. I've been on somebody for a while though, but I would never tell anyone that. Okay, so where are we at here? So we went through that July 20th, Leela and Max and Katie in Glendale. Another July 20th, and the names I'll just destroy was another one where he attacked the 8-year-old son. That was in Sun Valley. Then the 6th, Northridge, California, Chris and Virginia Peterson. He shoots these crazy son of bitches in the head, and they get up and chase him. Now he has this 25. It's like this weird gun I get. I'm not a big gun guy, but you don't hear a lot of people 25. So he shoots Chris Peterson in the head. Peterson chases him out of the house. So what do I do? Should I lay off? No. August 8th, Diamond Bar. Okay. Then he moves up to San Francisco. So he sticks around till August 8th. Does he make plans to go after that? Or does he see news after that and say, I better get out of here? So it goes up to San Francisco, Barber, Peter Pan. Then Mission Viejo, James Romero and family. August 24th, Bill Carnes and Inez Erickson in Mission Viejo. So it goes on and on and on, and there was certainly more crimes he committed, 100%. I believe there's probably a few more murders there, certainly more rapes. You got to understand how many rapes weren't reported back then. And there still isn't a high enough percentage now reported. So there's a whole lot of other shit that we don't know about and we're never going to know about. And to be honest with you, I'd rather have him not on this earth than have him be able to tell us, like kind of Ted Bundy did at the end. Well, you want to know about the rest of the murders? You know what, Ted? No, we don't. We just want you to go away forever. So that's what they did with him. So in San Francisco, then there was the big debate up there where Dianne Feinstein, the mayor of San Francisco, gave out a detail that they didn't want anyone to know was about the shoe print. They never found the shoe. The Avia shoe was very weird. How this dude ended up with a shoe like that, I don't know. It's probably like a dollar store thing. He was known. There was one witness saw him pick up the AC/DC hat that was used in the one of the first murders. So he could have gotten something there. But he had this really specific shoe, and they had the shoe print multiple locations. And once Dianne brought that up, it kind of blew it out of the water. However, that blew that out of the water, but it precipitated everything from happening. They ended up with the fingerprint, and we're able to match one fingerprint in LA, one fingerprint up there, and say, yeah, this is the guy. And did their thing there at that point. So we know who he is. At this point, Ramirez is visiting his family in El Paso over the weekend while all this comes out. And you got to remember, let me double check so I give you the right date. Yeah, I'm going to say 1984. So August 30th, 1985. So most of the murder, you say 83, 84. You just kind of, bouncing around into 85. I think that he's probably in LA a few months. He's probably raping people already. He attempted one in El Paso, Texas. I think to be that brazen and do that like that, I think he probably even did it before that. And maybe it was someone in the neighborhood, but he was gaining confidence in that. He was gaining confidence in the burglary. He's kind of honing his skills here. He has access to weapons, guns, knives, tools of the trade. Where better to go than the streets of LA in the 1980s? You know what I mean? Goodness gracious. I mean, you probably couldn't swing a dead cat without hitting a felon out there on some streets. So, you got to be careful with that. So August 30th, 1985. He comes back. He's on a bus from Tucson. They're staking out the bus station. They're waiting for him, but they're waiting for him to leave. They know he travels by bus, Greyhound. Okay, we have his family here. He might go there. So he's able to kind of make them because they're looking the other way. Here he is coming into town. And he doesn't know they're looking for him, but he knows they're cops. I mean, this guy's a street guy. He can immediately see they're cops. Is he carrying something back with him? More than likely. Yeah, I'm sure he's a weapon on him. He brings some shit back from El Paso because he's able to cop it there. I don't know. But he doesn't want to deal with the police, okay? So he's able to get out of there. He goes into like a liquor store, like a cigarette liquor type, I don't want to say a bodega. It looks like a little, more like a convenience type store. He goes in there, and the clerk in there looks at him. He looks at the newspaper and looks at him, and there's other people like, oh, shit. And Richard looks at the newspaper and sees his picture from about 2 years before when he got caught for burglary. Or I'm sorry, car theft. That was a car theft charge. So he gets caught for car theft. So there's the picture. And it, boom, you got me. You know what I mean? Here's the killer. It's what he looks like if you see him, call the police, blah, blah, blah. He takes off out the store, jumps on a bus. Gets on the bus. He's kind of standing there. I believe he's standing. I don't think he's sitting down. One of the railing things, kind of head down. And there's the guy with a newspaper. You got to remember this is, 1985. And it's everyone's riding a bus. Someone's probably reading a newspaper. Maybe a book, headphones. They're not on their phone because you don't have them then. So you have to be reading something. There's nothing that you could be doing. So everyone has probably a newspaper guy. Looks up. Oh shit. Bing, he pulls the little buzzer on the bus. He doesn't say anything, but he gets up, and Richard watch him, gets off the bus, and he runs to, I believe this was the guy that ran to there was a gas company truck. The bus took off, and he says, listen, follow that truck. The killer's on there, the Nightstalker or whatever he said. So the gas company guy starts following the bus. I think the guy that told the gas company guy, he goes and calls on the phone, or the gas company guy either radios in like, hey, listen, I'm following a bus. This is what's going on. Like, holy shit, I'd like to be the dispatcher of the gas company. Yeah. What do you got wrenches in there you can hit them with? Or so Richard's able to at some point make his way off of the bus and starts running through yards and different things like that. So he gets in a neighborhood. He gets in a guy's yard, and I got to give you the one guy's name. It doesn't necessarily have to be the car guy. Where's my man's name? Okay, so first there's the car guy, okay? He's working on his car. Keys are in it. Ramirez jumps in the car with the guy's underneath it. The guy's like an older guy, older Spanish guy, and he ain't having it. He says, no. He gets up. He's able to grab him, and they're wrestling. He ends up grabbing him by his throat and like choke slamming him out of the car. So Ramirez runs out of there. Later, the guy says, look, I don't know who he was. You ain't taking my car. This is my pride and joy. It was like an older car. The guy, took really good care of it, was tuning it up or working on it. So then he runs out into the street, okay? I'm going to find the name here. My guy. Yeah, Manuel Della Torre. So he runs out, and there's Angela Della Torre in her car. And he grabs her, and he says something, I'm going to kill you. Give me your car. Give me your keys. Well, unfortunately for Richard, Angela Della Torre is married to Manuel Della Torre. And Manuel Della Torre came out, picked up a piece of fence post and hit Richard in the head. Richard began down the street. A bunch of people were yelling. Apparently, there was a group of older Hispanic women on the corner. Or they were walking somewhere, whatever, and they were yelling, El Matador, and pointing at him in Spanish. So everybody, like these old ladies were like, get his ass. So everybody starts chasing him. So Manuel's he's swinging at him. Richard gets on the ground. And then, a police officer pulls up from the other side. And as he's pulling up, even Richard says, hey, listen, it was Andy Ramirez. He comes up, the officer, Andy Ramirez, no relation to Richard, comes up, and they're talking, oh, shit, what's going on? And basically saved him. So he knew right away that these people wanted to do a lot of damage to Richard. He didn't know why. And Richard was conked in the head, probably bleeding at the time, disheveled looking. So I don't know if he knew who he was right away. And he did get there was a haircut. You see him in the pictures is what you see later. The hair was more straggly. He had like a little bit more of a haircut when he was arrested. This was when he was in the Jack Daniels shirts. This is before jail. He had more of a trim look. And then for trial later, he grew like that big hair that he had out. So they get him in the back of the police car. And Ramirez in an interview says that people were talking shit and he's kind of pissed off and blah, blah, blah. But, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying all this. And then he's trying to act like he's cool still. And he's like, so I start flicking my tongue at him, and this and that, and trying to freak him out. And then, I guess the police are like, we got to get this dude out of here. So they get in the back and they're like, want to make confirmation. He said, you got me. Like, who are you? And there's actually a video of that. He says, it's me. I'm him. I'm the killer. They get him out of there, take him to the station. The two detectives race across town. Salerno and Gill race across town, get him. They do some interviewing with him. They talk. He's kind of like type, back and forth, not really saying anything. So then you come into the trial and all that happens. Oh, one of the things they did with Ramirez to kind of mess with him and to build rapport was they put him in the same cell that they put one of the Hillside Stranglers. I'm pretty sure that it was Kenneth Bianchi that they had in there, and Korea when it saw him, hey, this is his special cell. This was his cell. We're putting you in it, and he was, in his Korea said later, he was very versed. He knew who Salerno was. He was versed on this, true crime before, even a lot of us, well, obviously before we were, probably any of us here, 1985, 1983 was into this. And these killers are into this shit. They study these other killers. They look up to them like I would look up to like Chris Webber or Shaq when I was a kid. They looked up to serial killers. Richard Ramirez literally was mentored by a serial killer. A guy who was a serial killer in Vietnam was literally his mentor. He taught him how to hunt. He showed him how to sneak up, especially on women, because that whole, and again, normal people don't understand this, but that whole aspect is all part of it. That sneaking up is like part of like the sexual get off for these people. And it's beyond bizarre. But it's, how do you get like that? I don't understand it. So, then you go to trial, right? So you go to trial, and you have a trial, and you have all his shenanigans in trial. And I believe that he knew he was done. He was out, so he's going to do what he's going to do. Let him wear sunglasses. There was a rumor that he was going to escape and get out. Someone found a note that someone was going to slip him a gun in the court and he was going to shoot the prosecutor. There was a juror that passed away. I think she actually was shot by her boyfriend. It was something crazy, but it really had nothing to do with him. But initially, what? George shot what? It was like the Manson attorney, the one Manson attorney that disappeared. I don't know if they ever found him or not. That actually might have been them, actually, though. But exhibits would fall off the easels, which, there's some things out there that I can't explain, but I don't think Richard Ramirez had any kind of psychic power. I think he was a crazy type killer. And what type of killer? Let's talk about that, because we said he was organized before, right? Well, Richard Ramirez is one of the first mixed, as they say, killers. And that's what they would, that's how they describe him. So I'm going to read a good article to you. Example of a mixed killer, Richard Ramirez, known as the Nightstalker. We all know that. Difficult childhood, epilepsy. We know all that stuff. It's not because of the epilepsy that he was a killer either. Anything like that. It wasn't because he was like taking medications. He wasn't going to the doctor, right? He went to the dentist once. You know that story? That's a good story. I'll tell you that in a second. Obviously, with his cousin, there was nothing there. Just beyond bizarre how he came around. But when Ramirez went out to commit burglaries, he carried a knife or a gun, placing him on an organized side. So he wasn't picking up shit at the house and necessarily beating people with it. He had it. He took it with him. So he was always an organized burglar. He left multiple forensic clues at the scene and didn't seem to care if his satanic symbols might prove to be a link to him, as his interest in Satan was well known amongst his friends. So an organized killer is not going to leave a calling card of like, there ain't too many Satanists out there. And if there's a guy that kind of has a sketch and he's a Satanist, and so this is your guy that's a disorganized killer, the guy that's running down the street with his hands up in the air, covered in blood, naked. I just killed 2 people, I'm not trying to hide it. So he would do different things. He also had a modus operandi, or an MO. And if he went into a house with a man and a woman, he would go into a house and he would take the man out right away and try to shoot him in the head. That was it. He didn't want anything to do with the man. He wanted to have the woman was the object. Always the woman's the object. Sexual, talking negatively to them, probably using the exact words. I'd be willing to bet he used the exact words that his mentor, serial killer Mike Ramirez, used. Bitch, whore, stuff like that. That's the stuff that he said. I don't even know if I could say that on YouTube or not. I'm not calling anyone that, but so these are the exact words that he used, I think. But I think Mike Ramirez used them. We know Richard used them. And then his teeth and his breath. So many said his breath was just so horrible. It was like hot. Just absolutely terrible breath from his halitosis, from his teeth, from just eating sugar for like 15 straight years and he don't eat anything else. Guy probably didn't eat a vegetable in a fortnight. So it's probably been quite a while for that. He had no particular victim type. That was another thing that people, if you had a house, he tried to break into it. Just beyond bizarre. People with kids, different things like that. Although I don't think he ever broke into a house with a dog. As far as I know. Unlike the Golden State Killer. Maybe took a dog with him sometimes. Richard Ramirez, obviously the Nightstalker, initially called the Valley Intruder. And if you go even, kind of back in that era when the newspapers were competing over shit like this, what to name someone like this, they also called him, they called the Golden State Killer the original Nightstalker. So if you ever hear that term, but Ramirez had nothing to do with him. So Ramirez goes to trial. Women come in, they fall in love with him. He ends up marrying somebody. There's a clinical name for it. I don't even know what it is. It's beyond bizarre. He has all this people sending him stuff, and he won't wear a gold wedding ring, and just absolutely beyond bizarre. But that's kind of it. I just wanted to just explain, if there was one killer out there, and maybe it's because of my time in life and whenever that story I saw and stuff like that, that was the guy for me that was like, ooh, that's like, keep you up at night, scary. And again, what brought me into all this originally, Delphi case, criminal psychology, like kind of both on a 50-50 level. I know I've spun off the floor because that's kind of where my expertise is, from my job. No, not that I'm an expert at it at all. Not even close. But there's certain things I could just look at and tell you that's why they're doing this. This is what's happening. So hopefully it could help with that. But tonight was just kind of like, this is, get you to know me. This is one of the people that I continue to study, and how people could become so heinous. I don't understand, but I hope I gave you some background on it. And it's no excuse, but that's how these people, they're made. No killers are born. They're made. Okay. So I hope to be talking to you all soon. I don't know what I'll have next exactly. I'm going to do my best to play this video at the end here without screwing it up. We'll see if I can do it or not. But hopefully something with Ruckus soon. He got into Delphi, to Flora. But keep sharing the Flora stuff, guys. Anyone that's talking about Flora, as long as it's responsible and their heart's in the right place, there's a lot of passionate people out there talking about it. And we might not agree on almost anything X's and O's wise about what happened, but if everybody wants the right resolution and they keep applying the right pressure, then in the end, I don't think it really matters, who was right, who was wrong, as long as we get it done. So let's get that done. Let's send out all the Flora stuff. I have 2 ideas. People brought me one. I'm going to do like a fire safety episode. That'll be basic stuff, stories I'll tell about shit people did that they shouldn't do. That'll be a quick little one. And then hopefully talk to Ruckus soon, who had a really good show today with Kid. Check the Rhyme. And we can really get nuts and bolts and floor. I could give him the fire end. He could give me the cop end. Because like I said, we're in Pennsylvania, when there's a fire, once it's out and it's suspicious or arson, especially with homicide, that's like the county takes it over. The fire marshal, who's an arm of law enforcement. So we kind of give it up. But all right. I hope everybody enjoyed. Thanks everyone for talking and having fun and being nice to each other. We'll get answers to this. If anybody has any suggestions on anything they'd like me to do, I'll do it. Podcast wise, within reason. Hey, an idea, a case, something different like that, or just, fire shit. Maybe Gene will come on. Gene's an instructor. Like I said, he should have a Writers Guild. I don't even you don't get Writers Guild, but maybe a Actors Guild credit for charging the water line in Mindhunter. No Mindhunter 3. They said it's over with, which sucks, right? But hey, what are you going to do? All right, I'm going to get out of here. I got some laundry to fold. I'm working tomorrow. Tomorrow, where I'm at in Pennsylvania, it's going to be 74 degrees in the daytime, and at nighttime, it's going to be 30 degrees. I shit you not. At work tomorrow, I'm taking a short sleeve shirt. I don't wear shorts at work. Some guys do. A short sleeve shirt. I'm going to take a sweatshirt. I'm going to take a tassel hat, a scarf, sunglasses, probably sunscreen. I have good sunscreen, all in the same day. And yeah, hopefully nothing catches on fire because it's supposed to be windy, and that would suck. But all right. Thank you, Brooke. I love you too. Well, thank you. Should I get you up here, boogie down? Oh, what'd I do? Hold on. One more. Yeah, Kid's good. I like Kid. Kid had some stuff. If you go boogie down and listen to what Ruckus did today, Kid was on there, and he has a really good take on a floor fire, a lot of information. Yeah, Ruckus rocks. Yeah, I would just call him Ruckus. He's a retired guy. Brooke's lucky. See, Brooke? I've known Gene for 21 years, and that's Gene's joking. He's busting my balls. That's not a compliment to me at all, but that's what firemen do. They always told me if they quit busting your balls, worry, because that means no one likes you. So the more the guys jack you off or rib you, the more that they like you. It's a weird environment, but it's a happy one. So thank you, everybody, for listening tonight. Like I said, moving forward, hopefully, Ruckus, I work tomorrow. It won't be no good tomorrow, but maybe we could do something soon and just get it out there. Get it in the ethos. Share floor, talk floor. Watch that dash cam. If you know any firemen, show them that video because they're going to get pissed off too. But ask them what they think. Hey, what do you think happened here? What do you think happened there? Maybe there's something that none of us are seeing. They could be like, hey, so-and-so pointed this out. And as many times as we watched it, you could look at it again like, oh, shit, you know what? That dude was right. So, again, exactly. Dave sums it up here. We'll leave this as the last comment. Justice for Florida, justice for them girls, justice for Galen, for all of them. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend, safe weekend. Wherever you are, the weather's crazy. Windy, snowing places. Hopefully it's nice where you are, and hopefully I'll see you soon. As soon as I find out what I'm going to do next, I'll post an update for you. Check out my community page. I put a lot of pictures and stuff up, put some coaching pictures up, some pictures from work, stuff like that. And like the video and subscribe to the page because it's good for the algorithm. And I'm not even really sure what that means, but everyone else says it. So if they all jump off a bridge, and I guess I have to too because I have a YouTube show now. I'm only kidding. That's it. Talk to everybody soon. Stay safe. Coach Kev, out.